Hey Wanderers,
I'm Amanda,
and I'm Ron.
and this is Military Chatter.
Today we're going to talk about what it's like being a military spouse.
I thought it would be fun to ask other people's experience being in the military. So I shot a quick note to just the base Facebook page, the base that's closest to us, and just ask if there were any military spouses who would be willing to answer some questions for me that we could share in a video. And so I have 7 different ladies, and then it was all women that wrote back to me and said yes. I wasn't specifically looking for female spouses, I just wanted any military spouse, but I got 7 ladies that wrote me back, and then I have my own answers. So we're just going to go through the questions and see other people's experiences with the military and what they think about it.
So the first question she asked was how long you've been a military spouse, and so we got a wide range of responses, everywhere from barely 6 months to 27 plus years. So I mean, this is the spectrum of what it can be to be a military spouse.
And I'm right in the middle, at like 13 years or something.
Yeah.
So almost directly in the middle is where I am between those two. So our question number 2, I decided to start with the positive stuff. So I asked, what is the best thing about being a military spouse?
So the consensus answer, if you look through it, and everybody has a little bit of a different kind of perspective on it, is travel. Whether it's living different places or just the ability to see parts of the world that you've never seen before. So nearly everybody mentioned that to some degree, was that you got to see things in parts of the world that maybe you wouldn't have seen otherwise if you weren't a military spouse.
And the other one was the people that you meet along the way. So those were the 2 main positives, pluses, for being a military spouse. There was one answer that was my favorite. I'm just going to read part of it for you. She said the same thing. First of all, she said that travel was one thing that she really liked about it. But she said, the military gives me a sense of responsibility and has helped to mold me into a strong young woman. The experiences that you have when living in a military world really changes your views on life and the things you have to sacrifice to continue to keep your husband ready at all times. I feel like I have become a stronger person having to deal with everyday struggles, and I don't think I would have learned this fast if not living in this lifestyle. I enjoy being a mil spouse because I feel like the relationship between my husband and I is loving and strong. You don't have time to argue, and when we are together, we tend to focus on loving and spending as much time as we can because you never know what tomorrow brings. I just thought that was a really nice way of putting that, kind of encompassing everything that is good.
Okay.
So, question number 3. The opposite of the best, what is the worst thing about being a military spouse?
So the consensus answer, or one of the consensus answers, is moving. And that is a burden in the military because you are uprooting every so often. Some career fields you can stay in places longer, but for the most part, every 3 to 4 years, pack your gear and go somewhere else.
The other answer that a lot of people had was leaving their families. And they don't mean like this kind of family, they mean like...
Well, they can mean the same.
Right, they
really
do.
Both them.
It just means any kind of separation. But they're talking about they left their families back home, wherever that is. And then also the separation that they have whenever their spouse is gone. Whether it's to training, whether it's a deployment, like it doesn't matter. There are periods of separation no matter what job you have. And then not having your kids grow up around their grandparents, especially if you're really close with your family, that's one of the worst things. That's the worst thing for me, for sure.
Yeah, it's very difficult, very hard.
Okay, the last thing that I asked is what advice they had for other mil spouses, maybe younger than them, or people who were joining the military as a mil spouse, like just what advice did they have for them?
So the biggest part kind of ties into a phrase we use in the Air Force, that flexibility is the key to air power. And so that was their biggest piece of advice, is that you have to be flexible because you are at the mercy of the government. So I saw a Facebook post someone put up in the midst of, the pandemic and, lockdowns, and you can go here, you can't go there. And then the post said that some of you have never had the government tell you can't go somewhere, and it shows. And I think that really encapsulates it, is you're at the mercy of what the Air Force says. You can go here, you can't go here. Oh, you had a vacation planned? Never mind, we're going to...
Well, and that's even without a pandemic.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's in general. So a lot of people are getting a taste of what the military lives with other people are going to tell you when you can and can't do stuff.
And another piece of advice was find something to do outside of your spouse. This is especially important if you don't have any kids and it's just you and your spouse. You need to find something to do because your spouse is not going to be there. And the people who have the hardest time, the spouses who have the hardest time, are the ones that don't have any hobbies. They don't have anything outside of their spouse, which is not a healthy relationship to have anyway, but especially in this environment when they're gone so often or things change so quickly, you just can't have everything in that other person.
So just to be your own person, don't lose that or sacrifice that when you come in, because your spouse is serving for a reason, and you may not have that motivation to serve in the same way that they do. And maybe you do, and you support how they serve, but it's different for each of you as far as that goes. And so that having that independence, your own identity is very important for a healthy relationship.
And the last thing is our piece of advice, which we've given before in one of our military videos, and it is all about your attitude. You need to do whatever you need to do to take care of yourself so that your mental health, so that you can have the right kind of attitude that you have to have, whether it's about a move, about a deployment coming up, and a leave that's happening, because everything can be canceled. You can't say, oh, I've dreamed about throwing a birthday party for my 1-year-old since before I was even pregnant, and now 1 week out, he gets orders and he has to go emergency somewhere. And now everything in the whole world is ruined and my child is gonna be scarred for life because his dad missed his first birthday.
There are other reasons a kid's gonna be scarred not missing the first birthday.
You just have to hold things loosely, but at the same time, enjoy the flexibility that your life has.
Well, and I think that the flip side is hold things loosely and also be ready and able to fully engage when you can. So all right, we can do this. We got to do it now. We got to go. So you don't have a lot of time to sort of hem and haw and oh well, if you got an opportunity, you got to go with it sometimes.
Yeah.
So you've got to be adaptable, and because your attitude may affect how you work with people. So you may get to a location and there's a great spouses group that you hook into and it's great, and then they all leave in 6 months, and maybe you don't get along with the new people as well. And if you enter that with an attitude of, well, if they hadn't left, it'd all be good, that's going to color how that is going forward.
Or if something is bad at a base that you're at and you're leaving and you're like, oh, that spouse group was horrible, so you get to the new base and you refuse to even go to a spouses group because you're like, it's going to be horrible. Again, attitude. Yeah. Give everything a shot, just like when you tell your kids that they need to taste everything on their plate.
They may not ever eat it again, but they at least have to taste it.
Right. So the last thing we did was we asked if there was anything else that anybody wanted to say that didn't get covered in the questions that we asked. Okay, and there are a few of these that I want to read because I really like the way they expressed what they thought at the very end. So this first one is from the person that's been a military spouse for over 27 years, and then I'm going to read you the one of the military spouse that's only been in for 6 months. So this one says, Be flexible. We already said that. Make plans, but don't go over the top if the plans need to change. And be prepared to do things by yourself or have the active duty member come in late. Because you can't wait around for them to maybe show up. Like, start the party and maybe they'll be there. They just might be a little bit late. She said, my life as a male spouse hasn't always been easy. There have been challenges, but I've had the opportunity to make lifelong friends along the way. I've been able to experience new, wonderful things and visit beautiful places. As challenges arise, I've been able to meet mentors who've been through the same type of challenges. It's a wonderful life if you're able to roll with the flow of change and embrace all the good. And one other piece of advice that somebody said, it's okay if the military life isn't for you because it's not for everyone. So if it doesn't feel right, don't be overly upset. You'll get through it soon enough, she says. And then we have the little babies. I call them babies. She said she's 19.
That's because you're old.
She's 19 and he just turned 20. Well, I mean, we could be their parents,
right.
So they're babies.
Can't even drink
to
yet.
me. They just met last year when he was training somewhere and like immediately got married, which we can't say anything about that because we kind of did too. But what she said was she had to leave her family, like the people that she had known for her whole 19 years, and all of a sudden she's leaving and going to a completely different state with a guy that she hasn't known that long, and her parents didn't know because they just met him like the same time she did. But she said that the people that live around them on the base, she even said that there's a couple on the base that has only a couple of years older than her. They're probably in their mid-20s, but at this point they feel old, I'm sure, compared to this girl.
Depends on the career field.
She said, but they basically took me in after I moved here, and they're like another set of parents to me. It's so great that people would take you in like that out of nowhere. I don't know anyone that would do that for me or my family, so it meant a lot. And then she said that so far she loves her life as a military spouse, so we'll ask her in another 27 years what she thinks about it.
Thanks for joining us for this conversation about military spouses. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and leave your own experiences down in the comment section.
And thank you to everybody who answered my
That's right.
questions.
Bye, guys.